La Lanterna, a spotlight in Italian football, is a podcast that dives into the beautiful game seen from the eyes of two fans from the oldest team in Italy's point of view. My name is Fabrizio Cardone, Canadian and Genovese, together with my friend Matt Killen, an American-born and Genoa fan. Every week, we'll tell you all you need to know about the only team you need to know about, Genoa CFC. Plus, we'll have guests and provide updates from around the magical world of Italian football. Benvenuti! Welcome to La Lanterna podcast, and welcome back to everyone. This is Fabrizio with my best buddy.
Ciao, Fabri. It's Matt. How are you?
I'm actually really good. What was that you were showing on the screen? Nobody can see it, but I saw this like coffee mug or something.
It's just coffee. Lauren was craving some late night dessert and coffee, so I went around the corner to the diner and got a coffee and cheesecake slice.
We're recording at 9:11 p.m.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right.
That's when you drink coffee?
Absolutely. This is like I feel like if you're going, diner culture is weird. You're going really late at night or you're going early in the morning. There's not like an in between. I feel like unless it's like a weekend and you're doing like some sort of like early brunch type of a thing.
Okay, we're going to talk about more about that like privately. I don't think this is the right topic here, but all right. So national break. We've left everyone after the match against Juventus. Proud of our boys. We did a great match. We actually could have stripped points rather than a tie, but regardless, it was a good match and only makes us look with a bright future. We saw a little bit of a more aggressive type of formation from Gilardino, which was important, to the fact of, oh, by the way, this is an important thing. So I'm sorry, on a side note. So you don't necessarily listen to Italian streamings or interviews and Gilardino. I'm not trying to talk bad about him, but Gilardino is included in this. So I listen a lot to, and I don't mean to talk bad about them either, because I fully respect everyone that I'm mentioning right now. But it's the portal called Buon Calcio a Tutti, which they have a daily podcast.
Yeah.
So shout out to them anyways, regardless that they never talk about us, but that's okay. Well, anyways, this new fad that is happening in Italy is that every time you want to emphasize something, you use the word important. So every time they say this was an important match, but not because it was important, but because the line that they're trying to use is more like it was so well done that it was great. But they say it's important.
Le scelte sono importanti.
Anyway, sorry. Very silly side note to this, but it was an important match against Juventus because it gives also Gilardino now. We don't have the mathematical certainty about remaining in the Serie A, but it's just a matter of points right now and match days or whatnot. But it gives him the opportunity to use certain players, different schemes, different formations, different lineups, different players. And that's why, as we said last pod, not that I want to revamp that again, but about the surprise at the beginning seemed a little bit, at least from what we're used to from Gilardino, maybe a little bit too aggressive, but it turned out to be an amazing match. We faced them very equally at Torino, so that was not even at the Ferraris.
Right, absolutely. I mean, we went really, really aggressive. I think we talked about this in the last podcast. It was a pretty courageous performance, I think, when you think about it in terms of who we were up against and how aggressive we were from a formation perspective.
So that's on the side. Done with Juve. We had now the national break, which we're going to talk about in a few seconds. But in the interim, we've already opened up the doors by saying a few pods ago, if I'm not mistaken, about the Ferraris. So we're still no great news, like no official news, other than right now, the last that we've heard is from the mayor of Genova. He said that on the 5th of April, the project for the renovations of the Ferraris will be presented on the 5th of April, as I said, for the renovations themselves. So we'll understand what it will look like, who's entailed, who's part of it, who's not. Ideally, my understanding is that the city is trying to sell it, We know the situation of our neighbors. I don't even want to care about saying their names. At this point, they don't have money to invest. That's at least, unless they get private investments and stuff like that, but that's a different story, at least from the books or from what we know so far. And we also know that our property, 777 Partners, have said that they're willing to pitch in from between 80 to 100 million euros. So we'll see what that happens. Right now, we're about 10 days away from this, so probably it'll happen in a couple podcasts that we'll be able to talk about what's happening here. But I just wanted to share this because it's important. We would love to have a stadium of an owned property stadium. I don't know how that will look like. The only two that came to my mind, but they always surprise you with different things, is it's either going to be owned by Genoa but permanently rented to Sampdoria, or it's going to be a co-ownership and Sampdoria is going to pay their part like in 10, 20 years or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems a little bit like we can dream in the scenario where it's only ours, but it doesn't seem like that necessarily is as much of a reality, I suppose. So I don't know. I'm still holding out some hope that ends up being the actual resolution. At least the good news is it seems like we're ready on our side to be able to do something about it. So I suppose we shall all see. Okay.
Next one up. So now we're going to talk about the national team. So the 2/3 that we should talk at least the ones that I can think of. We have 6 nationals out there, but the only ones that I can think of right now are the major, well, at least for us in North America, the major 3s, which are Vasquez with Mexico, which lost 2-0 against the United States. Mm-hmm. So yoo-hoo for you guys.
Yeah, we were. So just a brief word on this one. I mean, obviously for the U.S., we've had a really good streak against Mexico recently. It's a very strange, though, tournament, I think, in general for us. We probably should have lost to Jamaica in the round before. We're bailed out by an own goal at the very end of the match that otherwise would have had us not going through. So I think good performance in the end from the U.S. We had some amazing strikes that were there. I'm sure our listeners overseas don't really care so much about the U.S. national team, but at least it was good to see Vasquez again. I know there were some complaints about him potentially picking up an injury, and with this being is what's called CONCACAF Nations League, so it's not even really like a proper. It counts for something, but it's not exactly like a normal qualifying run. I think all these different leagues and things are just so hard to follow what anything is anymore. But
we have the national, the nations as well. Yeah, the UEFA. It's the UEFA ones.
It's similar in Europe, I know. But the point being, I guess, that I think that it was good actually that Vasquez got a good amount of playing time in this tournament. It was good to see him featuring again Mexico's first 11. Obviously not the way he would have wanted to have that match end, but having a Genoa player feature in an international final, whatever it might be, is still worth something. So
that actually happened on March 21st. It was Panama against Mexico. Mexico wins 3-0, an away game. So that was a semifinal for the CONCACAF Nations League. And that's where he got this injury. Everybody freaking out, rightfully so, because we're like, oh my God, we've already seen what happened without him in one match. But at the same time, I guess it was a couple of days after he was back in on the field training with his peers, and he ended up also participating in the match, which was the final against the U.S. Even though Mexico has lost against the U.S., it was good to see him back there. So that means that if he was even in the lineup, in the starting 11, that means that his injury was very minimal and was away from the scare.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Him featuring shortly after that too is definitely a good sign.
So other 3 national teams that I can think of. So one is Ukraine. For Ukraine, we have Malinovsky. And what happens there is they were playing the playoffs in order to try to catch the last. There were 2 spots still available, so they fell under one route for the one line or whatever playoffs or whatnot to get to that one spot. And they played against Bosnia and they won 2-1. I am quickly looking because I don't remember specifically, but I think that Malinowski was not part of that lineup. But then the one after that one, which I probably supposed to talk about that in a second, because I wanted to cross that with Iceland. So it was funny because the very first, at least for us, from a Genoa perspective, match day, these international friendlies for Italy perspective, but for Iceland, they were in the same slot of Ukraine that I just mentioned to go to the playoffs in order to, the semifinal and then final as well, in order to get that last spot for Europe. So this is the year I'm talking about, the Euros 2024 happening this summer. Mm-hmm. So we had what was interesting for us Genoani was Gudmundsson from Iceland's perspective, and Retegui from Italy's perspective. Yep. So if we look at, just to wrap together with the Ukraine conversation, if you look at the Iceland's path, they had the first match was against Israel. So that was the same time with an Italy match. Italy had just friendly, so it's very easy to go through those. But so Italy had their match against Venezuela, and Iceland was playing against Israel. So the match for Italy ends 2-1. Not a pretty match. I have to admit that I didn't even watch it. Why? Because it was a friendly. Why? Because it was just like not the time of day that I could. Whatever. Anyways, but 2-1. I heard that it was pretty bad. And the only gem, the only sunshine that happened on the Italy match was Retegui with his 2 goals.
Retegui! E da lì è una sentenza, Matteo Retegui!
And so Italy won thanks to, quote unquote, thanks to Retegui's goal. But on the other side that I was mentioning before, this match of Iceland, so this was the semifinal against Israel, it ended 4-1 for Iceland, with 3 goals by Gudmundsson and an assist. So already right off there, I can post it on the social media right off there, our 2 boys were in the stardom. If you really on the front pages and whatnot, I put it like in effect of Gudmundsson wins 3 against 2. with the Retegui. But it was interesting because then you saw all the national papers, the Italian national papers, all saying Gudmundsson going to Inter, Gudmundsson going to Juve, and Retegui is getting also picked up by different teams. Like, this is a supermarket for the big ones, and we're just like, the sellers. But that's the usual typical topic. Let's them talk. They're only inventing whatever they want to invent. I think the only official more or less talk, but it was more of a, investigation type of talk out of all the ones that we're hearing about, is Juve just approached Genoa just to see what's Gudmundsson's price tag or something to that degree. Anything else is mumbo jumbo invented by the papers. Going back to our matches, so then we had, Iceland managed to go through to the finals, and they are going to match. They have a match against Ukraine. This time Malinowski's in the lineup, and it was pretty good. I shared it also on our chat. And Gudmundsson opens the scores against Ukraine.
Albert Gudmundsson again, twisting and turning away from the challenges and producing an outstanding goal. Albert Gudmundsson with a goal for the ages for Iceland.
And it was actually pretty awesome or weird or sad for Malinowski. Malinowski was face to face with Gudmundsson. Malinowski trips, falls on the grass. Gudmundsson turns around him, kicks the ball. Wonderful goal, 1-0 for Iceland. Unfortunately, Ukraine, because of their changes and the benchers that came on and whatnot, ended up winning the match 2-1. So Ukraine gets the slot for the Euro 2024, and Iceland unfortunately doesn't make it. And Italy, nothing. Just as I said before, it was just the first one that we mentioned, the doppietta, as we say in Italian, the 2 goals against Venezuela. And then just a couple of days ago, they, again, not necessarily a pretty match. It was a 2-0 against Ecuador. But Italy, let's go back 1 second, 2 matches. The first one, Italy-Venezuela, was played in Miami. Our friend, shout out to him, Francesco from Genoa Club Miami, managed to meet with him and exchange the clubs scarf. So that was all over the papers because it's important for us because we have a lot of Italians all over the world. But, obviously because we also have this Genoa Club Miami. But the match after that one, so the Ecuador-Italy, was
a similar deal, but we're just so proud of our guy Jack from Genoa Club New York. So
was it New York, right? Was it New Jersey, right? Where was the match?
Yeah, no, it was played in New Jersey. So it's where the Red Bulls play in Harrison, New Jersey, just outside of the city. It's a short train ride away. And it was this whole saga, actually. So Jack had this plan this whole time.
Okay, hold on. For everyone, who is Jack?
Jack's a member of Genoa Club New York. He's a younger lad, and he's been part of the club since the beginning. He's always been one of those guys who usually show up when we all get together and watch games. And he had the idea of getting Retegui a scarf. And so this is always going to be his thing. And the first thing he was trying to do was find Retegui at the hotel where the Italy players were staying. And he almost got him, but he got into the elevators and they got separated or something. I don't think he actually got to see him, but it was one of those things. So he wasn't able to do it then. There was this whole, I don't think he was planning on doing this, but there was, you and I were messaging about this back and forth. There was, in Times Square, there's a store that sells football kits. And so they were doing an event with the Italian national team. They kind of promoted it as such. Pay $100 and you get the new Italy kit, and then you get to meet the Italian national team. And they announced later, the day before, the players that were going to be there. And Retegui was one of those players. A lot of people were upset because it was Retegui, Darmian, and Zaniolo, I think, who were the three guys who were representing. And so people were like, wait, this isn't the full squad. And, blah, 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 blah. So we ended up not going to that either. I was thinking for a second about trying to find a way into that whole thing, but it was a mess. And no one was really planning on going anyway because it was expensive and yada, yada. It was also a shitty day. But, Jack's at the match in New Jersey. Casper, who's also a member of Genoa Club New York, and his son are there also. And he's got the scarf. He ends up, I'm pretty sure what happened was Retegui saw the scarf beforehand and liked it and came, and they kind of found each other after the match again. And that's where that video comes from, where he tosses the scarf to Retegui. And it's just such a cool moment because he's got the scarf and he's looking at it and he's excited to have it. It's just this is fucking cool, man. This is our club scarf. And this guy's so pumped about this. And there's a whole thing. I think they were trying to get a shirt off of him or whatever. And he's like, well, you want the scarf back? He's like, no. You keep the scarf, keep the scarf. So it's a similar deal. Jack's all over the papers today. I don't know if you saw all the stuff, but there's a profile of him with his picture and everything. And I think from one of his Instagram pages and all this stuff. And he got interviewed and talked about the experience and all this stuff. So it's just good. I think the thing for me, we were talking earlier about Blázquez made an interview, I think a handful of days beforehand. And that's where some of these things came to mind. If I'm not mistaken, he talks a little bit about the club pursuing options for grounds and trying to be included in the Euro conversations, making sure Genova is included in those conversations and all those other things. And one of the things that he mentions, he talks a lot about the growth of the club and the way that they're thinking about fandom, the way they're thinking about growing the club. And he mentions the gold jersey and the Rita Ora promotion, which I wasn't as much of a fan of when all that stuff started because it kind of felt like this isn't for Genoani, But he talked about that, and he talked about how really what they want is to find a way to take this beautiful historic club and bring it to football fans from around the world and attract fans from around the world and really get them excited about what Genoa is and what makes Genoa such a unique club. And it's just really cool that on the heels of that conversation, Miami were showing up. In New York, we're showing up. And hopefully we just see more of this and we start to find a way to grow even more, because it would be so exciting to have, 100 people deep Genoa Club New York, or something like that. And I think that there's a future where that's potentially possible. You just have to get people excited about the club and, the beliefs of us being a yo-yo club and not interesting and all that stuff. We need to shake that a little bit. But I think they're doing so many other things. And that's, do you have anything else to say over this? Because if not, I think we can transition a little bit to the fourth kid announcement from this morning too.
Well, no, I definitely want to say one more quick thing. So yes, you're absolutely right with respect to this interview that he did at Forbes. with our CEO, and there's even more to it, but it's little bits and pieces that we've already talked about, but it reinforces what we already know about it. But going back quickly to Jack, he's Giacomo Salvarezza, so he's not only a fan of Genoa, but who lives in New York right now, works and lives in New York.
Yeah.
But before that, he was an ex-player of Genoa in the youth sector. So he did his build up, grow up so just shout out to Giacomo if you listen to us, from the 2026 to 2016. He also had been captain in some of the, there's under 8, under 12, under 14. I'm just guessing here because I don't really know, but he has been the captain for some of those ones, some of those under something, to the point of 2015, the season 2015-16. And then he gets sold or moves on to Südtirol, and then eventually goes to New York. So it's interesting and nice to see that this Genoano at the Genoa Club New York was actually one of us in the youth sector. So it was pretty cool.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, he played in college too in the States over here. For Dominican University. So yeah, it's awesome to see, he stays with that connection, stays with that passion and that support, and has always been an active member of the group chat too that we have with.
And yes, you're right. And Retegui was very interesting, very nice to see that video where Retegui was excited with a huge smile.
He's smiling.
Huge smile, looking at the scarf to know and understand. He's not just putting up the scarf just because, looking at what side is the best one and which way is the right side up. So then he puts it right there to show it against you guys or the fans to take the pictures, and that's what the video that we saw on social media.
I did. Perfect. Yeah, it was just so cool. So amazing.
This brings to what you were talking about. So what happened is that
Fabio, you called it out a couple of days ago. There was like this strange placeholder on the site, or the shop, I guess I should say, for the fourth kit. And we saw a rumored fourth kit, which was garbage and thankfully not real, which looked like it was kind of a mismatch of a Venezia kit that had kind of been released before. And
it looked like a Venezia /USA/ Barcelona with white, red, and blue American Airlines style.
A lot of people were saying it looked too much like American flag type of a thing, but it wasn't even. It was very bizarre. Anyway,
ended up being a concept, by the way.
Today they relaunched it's a sort of a remake of the 99-2000 kit, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So it was the one, like, there's Brescia has been pictured wearing it at the Marassi at least once, or maybe more than once. It's that one that's got all the yellow details and all the Kappa signs down the shoulder and everything. And it's kind of split some fans' opinions a little bit. But like for me, like what I was trying to kind of make a connection with, I guess, is some of those strategies of reaching fans and getting more fans involved. I like this, and I'm coming around to this now because I think that it's a good example of that, even if it's like relatively limited. Like, it's a kit that will appeal to kit enthusiasts, and maybe it will get people around the corner. Like you and I have privately lamented for a long, long time about this ridiculous notion that a cyclist jersey is the best looking football jersey in Italy, like garbage. I think you see things like this and it calls back to, unfortunately it calls back to kind of a not so great era in Genoa's footballing history. And that it's actually somewhat clever that they have the rewriting history things all over all the promotion for this thing, because they're kind of acknowledging, like, we know these weren't really memorable years. And it's true. I think like the Kappa partnership in the late 90s, early 2000s wasn't really a good time really for Genoa. And the kits were different. They had different designs to them, but it maybe doesn't have as much nostalgia as, the earlier 90s or the 80s or some other periods of time where some of those kits just stand out and feel more kind of uniquely us. But
now, if I may, to add to that, like for who is not Genoano might look at it saying, oh, whatever, who cares, right? But if you follow Genoa, if you become Genoano and you start to, take that boat with us and, suffering and happiness and everything, you can appreciate what happened back in the day. So this was in the City of B year, 1999-2000. To your point of not great years, Sampdoria was there too, by the way. So let's not hoot their horns like if they were better. Anyway, so sorry, small parenthesis there, but this was one of the most, as you said, that absolutely correct. Like that was one of the most controversial, not the most, but one of the controversial jerseys, because they call them patacche, which is like these slapping these Kappa logos all throughout the whole entirety of the shoulder all the way down to the sleeve, so down to the wrist, and with a huge yellow. So you can, if you know and you can appreciate the Kappa logo, it's like two ladies, one beside the other, or a lady and a man
and women. Yeah.
And it's not like small, it's like huge all the way down. So you can count, I don't know, if it's a short sleeve, it's like 5 of them. If it's a long sleeve, it's like 15. I'm just exaggerating, but with this huge, with this predominant, important historical fact of having the home shirt to be predominantly what we call quarter red and blue, meaning red, blue in the front and the opposite in the back, red and blue, and not have much other color other than the logo or the badge. But this one here came on top of the one that you have on the pictorial with the badge and the logo of the maker. You have it along all the sleeves, which you're okay and you accept if you see it on the training outfits, but not on the actual authentic and official wear. And it was yellow, it was bright and fugly, if I may say, with all this yellow. Anyways, so yes, you are right. It still is controversial today. I think whomever lived Genoa back in the 90s definitely appreciates it more than anybody else, whomever came later and or earlier. Let's say, for example, someone like myself, I personally would never buy it, but I do appreciate it and enjoy it, seeing it, this marketing strategy that they're enduring from earlier on with a away kit first, which again was another revival from the 70s. And then you had the third one, which is a new invention with this whole gold thing. By the way, the gold jersey, still unbeaten, by the way, and mostly against the big teams, if we want to call them big. And now the fourth kit, which will be worn against Frosinone.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it kind of like you think about it. It's like, this is something that hopefully will bring other people to the club. I think it's nice to see. I was just looking online too, like my size is already gone, which is not surprising because normally it goes very quickly. It was there this morning and I was thinking about buying it, but I think it splits the opinion. My personal thing, I was kind of and then I was waffling into it and I'm kind of waffling away from it. I think a lot of people don't love with the long sleeve, all the logos all the way down, but then there's kind of this street style thing that's been happening these past several years where like that particular version of Kappa wear has become all of a sudden very interesting again at like the Urban Outfitters and other places like that. I don't know if you guys have similar places, but you have lots of that stuff where it's just like, it's intentionally leading into maybe sort of the ridiculousness of some of the designs that are there. And I don't think that Genoa are being ridiculous with the release of the jersey, but it certainly has a throwback appeal that they're trying to get to with it. And to your point, I think with it kind of being similar to the street design, maybe they're just leaning into that a little bit more. And I am with you in that I'm hopeful this is a special release and not the home kit next year.
No, I don't think so. I mean, shout out to our friend Will. He would have preferred it to be the next year. No, I don't see that. First of all, if you release it as a fourth kit, it ain't gonna come as the home kit next year. And I don't think we should. First of all, I don't think it will happen, and I don't think we should look at the retro wing unless there's a specific reason, and there is no specific reason to have that. Like I could see maybe next year to be the official 100th last Scudetto, maybe, but I don't even see that happening. It's not a great marketing thing. I can see the away match, the away shirt. I can see the third kit if you really wanted to. I can see the fourth one 100%, but not the main one.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely, but whatever. It's kind of cool. It'll be interesting to see it on the pitch. My eyes were similarly drawn. Somebody shared a picture the shirt in store in Genova, and they had a pair of red shorts with it, actually.
Yes, because if you look back in the day, depending on maybe the outfits from the opponents and whatnot, they had the choice of the blue shirt, the blue pants or the red pants. I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan of the Genoa kit, the red and blue with the white shorts. The red one is not as bad, but I still don't. To me, the official kit is with the blue.
You're more of a purist that way. I've always kind of liked it with the white shorts. I think it's probably better with the navy. It's a different look, but I don't mind it as much. And the red ones, it's just cool to see that. Like I know it's not exactly the same. It's more of a change shorts or whatever. But
no, for the fourth kit, great, fine, sure, it's fine. For the main one, the few times we had to put those white shorts with the red and blue kit, it just cringes. But personal preference. I hear a few, not maybe a lot, but I heard a few that like that look. Or another one was from the past again, was the typical red and blue kit, but with light blue shorts, which again is like to me, but that's me.
Yeah, I mean, look at the usual look is with the dark blue shorts. That's just what it is. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Marketing, and I'm liking that. Finally, what they were saying and promising. Obviously, people are going to complain. Sure, we don't have the first call, the first dibs because we're abroad. You either have to invent yourself, whether from someone there in Italy or eBay stores or, with whatever we can get hands on from the main store. And the truth is they're doing things. And that's what the important thing is it creating more. You remember even at the beginning of February when they had that retro, which was in the same theme of this fourth kit that came out in the beginning of February, sold out in a matter of hours. Sure. People would say, well, of course it's sold out. They only had like a certain amount of number. But, when people go crazy for that, you're not expecting to sell thousands. But one of the numbers that actually our CEO came out with that interview that you mentioned before is the 10 million revenue in this year, the financial year, from marketing's income. So that was awesome. That means that it can only grow, especially when you broadband it to international levels. Anyways, let's go to our break. We have a special guest coming right up.
And now, a short commercial break.
My name is Fabrizio Cardone, and I approve this message. Bentornati, welcome back to La Lanterna Podcast. This is part 2, our salotto or our pub, whichever you want to call it. So Matt and I, this time around, we invited back someone that we had a couple of times, by the way, when we were in Serie B. So we have to say it, like we did not officially win the standings, even though we won the championship because it's considered still winning on the second spot. But the team that actually was above us came up as well. And we dragged him along with us. So we're going to say, welcome back, Ferdinando.
Hello, guys. Hello. Good to be back. Before anything, I want to say congratulations on those kits you guys released today. Those I am really jealous about those kits.
We were just talking about it.
I'm telling you, Fabry. So it's so funny. There's like this whole thing happening right now. Like the Genoa community is kind of split in half because like it comes from a time when Genoa weren't that great, and some people don't love all the Capo logos and stuff. But like so many people, it reaches so many people. Like this is a fucking good looking shirt, and they're already selling like. My size is gone. I can't even buy it anymore. Like they're all immediately sold out, which is, I think that's great. It's awesome. And we'll be wearing it in the match against you guys this weekend too. So you'll see it live in the flesh.
Yeah, no, on social media, Matt, actually on the Italian side of things, people are like sending tweets here, left and center. Is there still like at this store versus is there still at that store? So they're all running to the different stores to see the different, because there's a short sleeve and the long sleeve and so on. This reminds me, like, remember the not that I want to compare ourselves to Venezia, but on the marketing side, Venezia was top a couple of years ago, right? So, and they had Kappa. So Kappa is doing a good job with us. We talked about it just like a few minutes ago in the first half, but the first kit, great. The away kit was great because it was like a revival from the 70s. The away kit, the third kit with the golden one was beautiful in my perspective. And now this one, this was a revival from the late 90s, and it's something else. Like, I personally don't like it to the fact of buying it, but I really appreciate it and really like it. And I can see so much enthusiasm. And look at yourself too. Even you noticed it yourself with the announcement, which came out today.
That's what it's all about, baby.
Yeah. Sorry. No, any, like, again, I've always been jealous of, like, you know, clubs like Genoa, like, not to say rep, but with the Kappa, I mean, you guys know how to pull it off. Like, you know, my rival team, you know, with Roma, they've had the Kappa. I was like, oh, why can't we get something like just anything Kappa? Like, you know, so kudos to you guys for it. You guys really did a good job with the kit.
So this is background for whoever doesn't know Ferdinando. And if you don't know him, you have to go and listen to our previous pods. So he's a split 50-50, half Frosinone, because he's Ciociaro, more or less, in this.
Two shiners, yeah.
And half Lazio. So this year, being Frosinone in Serie A, as I mentioned, asked him in the pods from last year, who is he going to root for? I'm going to ask that again. Who do you root for when it's Frosinone Lazio? And I know your nono has to do with something about this, right?
Yeah, honestly, when Frosinone was playing Lazio, like, again, like, I'm going to get heat for this. It's okay. I was going for Frosinone just because there's so much at stake. And I get Lazio aren't doing so hot as well. But just there was a couple times where I was, like, not really impressed with my Lazio side. They were kind of playing a little bit dirty near the end, giving away garbage fouls, and you know, Mr. Pentin Pro V there, Mr. Number 8 on Lazio, whatever his name is, with the luscious hair. He thinks he's a tough guy now when he comes to Serie A. So it was a close game. It was a scrappy game. Obviously, we fell short, and it was a game that we should have, you know, at least I would have been thrilled and beyond the moon happy with the draw, but we were unlucky. So at this point, I'm going to say I'm kind of a little rooting for a little bit for Frosinone, because at this point, I think Lazio, yes, with the new Polish manager that we got, I'm very experienced, but I don't think we're going to make out of it. So I think that Frosinone staying in Serie A is most important to me at this point.
So before we jump into the match, let's revive a little bit of what you do, because I want to share that with everyone again. So tell us a little bit more of your sidekick. Not side cleats, the kicking cleats, but sidekick.
Yeah, no, it's you could say, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out now, but I'm more of a content creator. Like I do, like, the, you know, transfer news, graphic design, all that stuff. As people may know me, I do a lot of, you know, the comedy does creep in. I'm usually known as a comedian, but yeah, I've made some couple funny posts in here and there. So yeah, I could say like kind of more like a footy MC or a content creator or something like that. So I try to make.
Let me interrupt you right there. We have in Toronto, because you're just north of Toronto, but we have two Italians. So we have Bernardeschi and we have Insigne. Yeah. So I saw this video with you and Insigne. Tell us more a little bit about that video.
Oh, story time. Oh, wow. Okay, so this was like about, firstly, when Insigne was coming to first came to TFC, sorry. They were doing this big event. It was like Allstate Insurance event or whatever. He was there. This guy shows up 2 hours late. He's really tired or whatever. So I'm thinking, okay, it's my chance to get an interview, something with him or whatever. His PR team did not like me. They saw the camera right away. They're like, nope, what are you doing with that? I'm like, listen, just 3 questions in Italian. Just 3 questions. No, not a chance. Okay, no problem. So a security guard that you don't see in the footage there was hilarious. He looked like if you ordered Dave Chappelle off Wish. Literally just a joke of a security guard. Like, I was like, this is what $50 million a year gets you? Like, really? So at the time, the person that was with me, I kind of gave her my phone, kind of snuck it in there, right? And at this point, the PR and his interpreter had no idea he was getting recorded. Insigne knew. He kind of looked at us, but he was kind of good sport about it. And I was like, okay, Ferdinando, what are you going to do? You're gonna have to ask him the stupid question, because I had 2 serious questions and 2 serious questions and a stupid question, right? So I'm going to have to go with the silly one. I asked him, so basically, and no one saw the video, I pretty much I say to them, I say, hey, Mr. Insigne, sorry, just a curious question. What do you think of the Canadian pizza? And he literally, as he's signing my card, he looks up at me, raises his one eyebrow, like Jack Black, and he's like, sorry, do you have another question? And then he starts laughing. He's like, no, I'm just kidding. Like, I haven't tried it yet, but obviously nothing beats a Napoli pizza, but I'll try it or whatever, right? Or something along those lines. But it was so funny. He was a good sport about it. He's a great guy. Like the couple seconds that I've kind of talked to him a little bit, but it felt like a little victory. And it's funny though, when he signed my card, he, as you can see in the video, he doesn't let wheat to dry, so he slips it back into the case. Now I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, I got my signed card. I turn around, it's all smudged.
No.
Yeah, I got all smudged. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, but all in all, like, I mean, that was the best moment. Now, talking to him and getting that interview or whatever you want to call it, that was like the best moment for me.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was perfect.
Matt, what do we think about Frosinone this year? So they win the Serie B last year. At the very tail end, the face-to-face, the head-to-head, they end up winning it for whatever the reason was. So they end up winning, rightfully so, because they were leading most of the season last year anyways, the Serie B. But this year, Serie A tables are turned.
Oh, look, I can't speak to Frosinone as well as Ferdinando can, but I think, to be honest with you, as much as that might sound like a homer answer because we've got Ferdinando on the pod, I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I think there's still a shot. I think when you look at like where they are, you know, it's a really, really close battle from 13 all the way down to 19. You know, 4 points from 6 positions. That's all the way there, or 5 points, I guess, from 6 positions. So I think there's still definitely a chance. I mean, obviously, you've got some changes. You have the coach leaving in the offseason, all those things. I'm sure that played a bit of a role. But I don't know. I think that it's a match that I don't think I would be pretty surprised if there are many Genoano out there looking at this saying like, as much as this might sound disrespectful to Empoli, I think if you're playing Empoli, it's like, we better fucking win against Empoli. Like, we're playing Frosinone, like we want to get 3 points. It's important for us to do that, but I don't think it's something where it's like this is going to be like a walk in the park or something.
Ferdinando.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think going into this match, we're going to take every game like it's a final at this point because we do have a busy schedule, you know, and we're going to go in with you guys too, thinking we're not going to think it's going to be a cakewalk either. I mean, you guys have given us a tough go in the past, and we're always going to, you know, be confident going in. But at the same time, we have to be worried. Like, okay, this is a different Genoa. This is a different kind of setting. We're more desperate at this point opposed to kind of last season, even though you guys were neck and neck with us, and we still respect you guys as a squad, right? But I think this one is going to be a scrappy game, and there's a lot more at stake for us, if anything, for Frosinone, right? So,
and you got to remember, we've lost the last 2 matches against Frosinone, first of all, and Ferdinando is exactly right. Like, it's kind of it's a difficult match actually when you think about it, because we're in a position, we're not in like the doldrums yet. I still like really want to be careful about that type of assumption in terms of like securing safety and being in quote unquote no man's land or whatever. But like, we're going up against a team that is incredibly motivated. And I definitely am a believer that these matches all count towards something, regardless if we stay in 12th position by the end of the season, because we're still also doing things like trying to make sure we keep some of our star players in the offseason and not have their heads turned. We're already going to have probably at least another player go. There's tons of rumors, obviously, about Goodmanson right now.
Oh.
Which,
Don't tell Ferdinando he's going to like swamp his page with that. Well,
I'm like in between because I'm getting like one side. Now it's like, now Roma's joined the mix. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, you know, Inter's been there knocking for a while. Obviously, Juve breeze on someone that scores more than so many goals. Like, I all respect to Albert, like he's good and stuff like that. But if anyone's on a little hot streak, all of a sudden Juve's like, oh, we gotta buy him. So hopefully he doesn't go there. I want him to stay at Genoa, but I mean, obviously him being so good, like I don't know, it's gonna be really tough for him to stay at Genoa. But yeah, we'll see.
Mostly for us is the fact of we have to do that deal with the tax man where if by doing this deal, we cut our depth in a third. So that means, though, that we have to be always in the positive. So you have to sell in order to buy. So we had to do that during the winter market. Therefore, the sell of Dracusin, and most likely it'll have to happen during the summer market because they're all independent among each other. It's not that you can carry things over. Mm-hmm. So the summer market, if you want to do any type of purchases, we'll have to sell something. And right now, that's what the player that looks like the most likely yeah. So sorry to what Matt was saying a little bit before. So yeah, we did lose. I'm not going to even go with the Serie B ones, but so this was November 26th. This was still early-ish, quote unquote, on. I remember this match. It was one of those matches that really made all the fans upset because a lot of shots on goal, even more than what happened with Frosinone. Frosinone was a little bit more clinical, where it was 5 against. I'm just quickly reading the stats here from the last match against you guys at Frosinone. 5 shots on target compared to our 3, but it was 13 in total against the 9 of you guys. But it was you opened the scoring, and a few minutes later, it was I remember it was the opening of a streak of 2 or 3 goals by Malinowski from outside of the box, which he still is the best goal scorer outside the box.
I forgot that was a good goal. Yeah.
And at the 94th minute, the typical, what we say in Italian, zona Cesarini, which just means like in the dying minutes of the match, beyond the 90th minute and so on. So this was 90th plus 4. Monterisi scores the 2-1 for Frosinone, and our hearts just shattered. Now, that was a different Genoa compared to now. What happened between there is, I think so. I'm not trying to be cocky about it. I'm not. But I'm trying to say it's like in between then and now is injuries, transfer market from January, and experience.
Well, I mean, we did start Puskás, so I guess there's that. So I'll give you that.
See what I mean?
but I don't know. Like I feel like that characteristic has been us all season long. We play really, really aggressively, and the guys get tired, and sometimes we get the subs wrong, and then we let a goal in late. And I think like we felt a little bit hard done by perhaps to lose, but I don't think it was entirely unfair to say Frosinone didn't deserve 3 points either.
No, that's not what I said.
I know that, but I just mean that like I think it's interesting. Yes, you're right. I think probably mainly circling Vitinha and Spence as players that are newer additions that have made more of their mark recently. And like, what does that look like for us in a match like this? But I don't know. I mean, we've pretty much played, those guys add a different dimension. Don't get me wrong. But Gila's pretty much had a style for most of the season. Maybe we looked a little different against Juve. We had a little bit more attacking kind of a setup with the players that were on the pitch. But I think he wants to play a certain way. He wants to be aggressive. And that's why it's also kind of tough. Because again, you've got a side that just Frosinone cannot afford to stop at any point in this match. And that's the thing that is going to be challenging for us is we can't rest really at all. But at least I guess we're coming back from the international break. So maybe that helps us a little bit.
I guess before we jump into the match itself, Ferdinando, you said that I can't remember now if you said it earlier or before we started recording, but half of the team is on loan.
Yeah.
I'm saying half, but obviously I'm just
it seems like half. Like I say half, but it seems like half. Like, you look at all these players like Sole and, the list can go on, but these guys are from Juve. And it's scary for me because like actually my nono made a good point. It's like, this is it. Like, yes, we are going to lose them. Even if we stay, we are going to lose them. But I'd rather stay in the A and lose them next season staying in the A because now we're going to get that money, from staying and all this other stuff rather than go to the B and then we're starting again from scratch, again from like to the bare bone. And it did take us a while to get back up there, right? And we were kind of lucky this past summer. Like we attracted a lot of good young players, and I don't think we're able to do that, the next time around. So that's just a feeling that I'm having. So yeah. No,
that's true. And just as an example, look at what happened. A different story, of course, nothing to compare, but look how long it took in Serie B, Parma. Maybe for them this year, it's going to be the year. And as you said too, as well, like sometimes when you go down, it's going to be tough. And another one is like our neighbors. I'm not going to call them brothers or cousins or whomever. we're hoping for them to be struggling down below in the infim part of the world, and Dante's Inferno type of thing. But
it's crazy how they were though in the beginning of the season. Though they're losing, and then all of a sudden they're creeping up, and I was like, oh, like what's going on here? Not to cheer from or whatever, but it's like. It's just crazy how the season can kind of turn around in the second division, right? Opposed from the Serie A. So, yeah, let's hope they don't get up there, right? It would be nice for Derby. Don't get me wrong. Like, your Genoa Derbys are always fun to watch. But,
let's bring up Pintella. All right, so I guess let's jump into the match. So it's going to be, as we talked about the standings is looking harsh for you guys, but it's a very tight fight down at the bottom. We are almost condemning Salernitana. There's no mathematical aspect to that, but to be the first candidate. But even Sassuolo, which is just 1 point below you guys, as Matt was talking about before, you have 6 to 7 teams in the range of 4 to 5 points, and so it's any club's game there. How do you see now getting into the match, and what do you fear the most? What's the strongest aspect that you can see with Frosinone, and where's that going to lead to?
Well, I'm going to be a little biased. I know last time, like I wanted us to tie and everything. Last time we kind of played in the B and stuff like that. But this time around, like I need the boys to be aggressive, but at the same time not tire themselves out, because let's say we fall short with Genoa. Now we're looking at, teams like, Torino, Napoli. Like, we don't have a fun schedule near the end. Like, it's not fun for maybe have 1 or 2 games here and there last time I checked. But, like, I think you guys are kind of our only hope in a sense. Like, no mean disrespect or whatever. But in terms of points, because, again, after you guys, it's not looking too great for us. So hopefully we can get a win. If we get a tie, that'd be great. Not what I wanted. But at this point, like I said, we have to play every game as a final if we want to kind of stay up there, right?
So you see that as a win, all in all?
Do I see it as a win? I want it as a win. Do I see it as a win? I don't know. I'm not too sure, because again, it's like every time we've faced each other, maybe I was wrong. Okay, maybe you guys didn't beat us, but like I will never kind of underestimate you guys. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'll never go in and say, okay, Genoa's going to be easy, because you guys always found a way to kind of put us in a tough spot. Even though if we did win, right, when we won in the past, I don't know. I think maybe it will be kind of like a thing at the end where we're winning and then you guys end up, winning at the end or something. It's going to be crazy. I think at the end it's going to be either a tie at the very dying embers of the game, or a win, like the first time around.
Pick one.
Okay, pick one. I think we'll just squeeze. I think like last time. I think we'll just squeeze. You'll give us a go, but again, it won't be easy, and I think that's what Di Francesco's telling the guys. Hey, like, if you guys think this is a cakewalk, like, think again. These guys are going to give us a go. So we'll make it, but just barely. And I think there'll be a couple of injuries coming. Maybe 1 or 2 injuries coming out of this game.
That tough, huh?
That tough. I think so. I could be wrong, but again, not to be, too generous to you guys, but I think you guys you always kind of gave us a go, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be I think it's going to be a scrap,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for that exact point. It's a tough time for Frosinone right now, but I think they know that they need to get something out of this, and as we've seen, they are capable of doing it. For us, I think I don't think we're going to be probably as aggressive as we were against Juve. I mean, Juve, I love seeing that from Gila, but I think it's sort of a different mindset against a team like Frosinone. Like, it's not like we're going to try to batten down the hatches and just get a point, but I don't know if we're going to have 4 attacking players in our first 11 in this match. I feel good about our ability in this one, but it doesn't mean that it's again going to be something that we're just seeing Genoa in one-way traffic, because I think we've seen it multiple times already. Like, Frosinone are very capable. I think probably 2-1 is what I would kind of guess. myself.
For us?
For Genoa, that's what I think that will probably be where we are. Hopeful we see a goal from Retegui continuing from his international form, and maybe we also see maybe Spence is on that line somehow. I know he's been more of an assist maker, but maybe we see him kind of getting involved in that one. I think probably more likely it would be Vitinha as the other goal scorer, but we'll see. I think it's going to be it's an interesting match for us. I'm always curious how Gilardino responds to different things, and I think that's, while it might not be on everyone's like must-watch list for the weekend, for me, it's kind of a really interesting challenge, because it's like, what is Gilardino going to do in a match like this when you've got a side that really need points, that have weapons, that are coming at it with a different style? Like, part of the reason why I don't think we're going to be as aggressive with Juve is, you go aggressive against Juve, you're going to earn plaudits from people, because you're going to say, wow, look at how courageous he was. He started attacking players against Juve. We just thought he was going to lay down because he's managing Genoa. Like, it sounds silly, but it's kind of like almost an easier decision, because then people are like, oh, Gilardino's so ballsy. He put attacking guys out and he's not afraid of anyone. But it's kind of also a foolish thing to do all the time. And I don't think you've usually not done that actually against teams that are kind of more, to Ferdinando's point, more in like our stratosphere. We've not done like an uber attacking lineup against any of these other teams in our kind of range in the table. So how he responds to this, I think it's going to be kind of a little bit of an interesting managerial chess match too. But 2-1 is how I think it might end up. And I say that begrudgingly, because you know how much I've become accustomed to not wanting to predict.
Starting to be too Italian there, Matt.
I've learned it. I know. But first being too cheap to buy the kit at full price, and now like not wanting.
All right. For me, I open up by saying this is the Vendetta day. And I say that lightly, in a sense, like if I look at all the last matches, especially the last two anyways. So the first one, as I mentioned that a little bit earlier on, this scrappy kind of loss that we had in the 94th minute, it hurts, right? And then even at the very tail end where it was almost like head-to-head, that win, if we had won at the, what was it, like a second or third last match for Serie B, it would have brought us either 1 point below you guys or at par or something like that. I can't remember. And obviously then it was a win for 3-1 for Frosinone. And we know how the end of the season went, where Frosinone was first, and as I said before, rightfully so, and Genoa was second. So why I said for the Vendetta is like, okay, enough already with these wins. It's time to for wins for you guys or losses for us. It's time for us to, I think it's time for Gilardino to show that he's able to win against Frosinone. To the point, to Matt's point, actually, he is right, where Gilardino has shown an amazing stance, an amazing play, and an amazing show against the big teams. And no offense by putting you there, I'm just looking at it from a standings perspective. Any time that it's like on the mid to lower table, they kind of take that easier or half sleepy or so on. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough match, no question about it, but an easy. No, I'm just contradicting myself. It's not going to be an easy match, not an easy win, but it's going to be a win for Genoa. Perhaps 2-1, maybe 3-1, or 2-0. Anyways, I'm going to pick one. I'm going to say 2-0, based on the fact that the defense is all back in shape. All the players are there. Our goalie has been linked, unfortunately, already to a lot of major teams. So just to say that he's been solid all year round. But I think it's more of the fact of the two aspects, as I see it, is Gilardino's want to win against Frosinone and the home field. So it's already over 30,000 tickets sold, including the season tickets. So that means it's a whole entire wall that is going to be in full support of the team, which always, also by the words said by the players, a huge support, a huge help when that means the most. So yeah, I see a 2-0 against Frosinone.
It's definitely scary to play in general. Like even coming as a Lazio fan perspective, you know, seeing Lazio play over there, it's scary. When that home pitch you guys have, like that wall itself. So yeah, I think that's like I would say a handicap on our end, because we're coming away and we're going to, not only facing the 11 on the field, but we're facing that wall of the red and blue right behind, right? So I think that will hurt us for sure. Still hopeful we'd win, but again, the home field is just nuts to begin with. A lot of history there, a lot of support. So I am envious when it comes to that for sure, most definitely.
I know that there's going to be fans coming up to Genova from Frosinone.
Yep.
I know that the standings, the amount of the guest tickets are around 2,000, 2,200, anywhere in those ranges. I don't know if it's going to be a sold out from that perspective, but I can foresee at least that there's going to be a good chunk of you guys there. So, get there with a lot of oxygen tanks because you'll need that.
Yeah, no, most definitely. That's our plan. So,
all right. So I guess we are at a wrap. Thanks again, always to be our super guest, Ferdinando. You're always welcome with us, and we might have to have you eventually one day for Lazio. But hey, no. You said that you were a little bit rooting a little bit more for your Frosinone, so I might.
Which, by the way, we respect the hell out of that too. There aren't enough of us out there, and maybe it's easy for us to say with Genoa being it's the old club or whatever, but it's cool to meet fans outside of the top six.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm actually, my non is staring at me from the window, holding a sign. You better talk good about Frosinone. He's kind of giving like the signals. He's like, hey, Frosinone.
It's like, attento.
Attento. No more booster money for you, eh?
That's awesome. All right, Ferdinando. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, how can they reach you?
You guys can reach out to me on Kicking Cleats on Instagram. So kicking_cleats. Same thing goes as YouTube, Twitter. So just kicking_cleats. You guys can find me on there. And if you guys are looking for my comedic side and stuff like that, you guys can find me on Lazio Close. Lazio like the squad, obviously, and Close like one of the greatest Lazio German footballers, in my opinion. But you guys can find me on there for sure.
All right. So definitely please check out our friend Ferdinando as the video that we talked about earlier on. Way too freaking funny. He's awesome. And all right, so yes, reach out to us as well. Follow us always on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Send us DMs and whatnot. But never forget, always and forever, Forza Genoa. You've listened to La Lanterna, a spotlight on Italian football, a podcast powered by Genoani Si Resta. Thank you for listening and see you next week.